G'day, Spuddies. Another Super Spuddy interview coming at you today. This one's a little bit different because this one is actually someone who has been through my personal coaching. So the other Super Spuddies that we've seen so far have been people that have done my online course about on food addiction and Spud Fit Challenge, that sort of thing. Sorry if it's a bit noisy in the background. There's some construction going on, but yeah, Mary-Jeanne Smith, MJ, has done my online course, but she's also done my personal coaching. And again, a little bit different here is that through my personal coaching, we didn't actually do potatoes only. This was more of a whole foods, plant-based, mega foods style eating plan, and it was my personal coaching, and the coaching was a little bit different to just jumping straight in and doing all potatoes from the beginning. So you might be interested to know that most of the people that I do personal coaching with, not all, but most people don't do only potatoes. Some people do, but most people don't do only potatoes. And yeah, just it's on a case by case basis. Anyway, enough from me. You'll hear all about it from MJ herself. G'day again. Here we are, another Super Spuddy interview. It's another. I'm sure this one's going to be a fun one. This is Mary-Jeanne is someone who's done a Spud Fit challenge through the website, through our course and our program, and she's also done personal one-on-one coaching with me, and she's been a star student all the way. So I'm excited to share MJ with you. So here's MJ. Say hi.
Hi, glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So, can you start just by telling the viewers a little bit of background about yourself?
Sure. So I live in Washington State in the United States. I've been married 32 years. I've known Andrew since, let's see, I was looking up, I think it was May of last year that I first contacted you about working on my health issues and trying to overcome some of the issues I was having. I have a few kids. I say a few kids because we were foster parents for 20 years. So I have bio kids and I have kids of the heart. And,
Yeah.
and then I have my Chinese kids that I teach online. English is a second language. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
I'm
cool.
a pretty positive person, and I've made a lot of changes in my life, and I just want to keep moving forward. So
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, while we're on the topic of your Chinese students, you do some online teaching English. That's right, isn't it?
right.
Teaching English to
Exactly.
Chinese kids
Teaching English
online.
to the children.
Yeah. So, can you tell us what that message is on the background there?
Oh, sure. Well, right now with the coronavirus, we're trying to make sure that they know we support them. So it says, "Stay strong, China. We love you." Just to send a
Right.
little message of love out to China, that we really care about them and we want them all to get well and stay healthy. So all
Yeah.
the kids are
Awesome.
kind of stuck at home. So I
Yeah, it
feel
must
bad
be
for
hard.
them.
Yeah. I've
Yeah, no
got
school.
yeah, I've got one guy that I'm coaching who lives in Hong Kong, and yeah, he's
Uh,
having it's not like the epicenter of the whole thing, but he's having a tough time anyway because basically all of Hong Kong's in lockdown, and it's pretty hard to get
yeah.
food. You can't actually get any potatoes.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What would we do?
Yeah, the first person I've actually worked with who legitimately can't get potatoes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be tough. I guess they'd have to switch to rice. Probably they can probably get
Yeah,
rice
that's
fairly easily
exactly.
there, but
Even that's hard to
yeah,
find because
really. Oh, wow.
because the whole city, like they're basically everyone's stockpiled it all because they're worried that what's going to happen. Are they going to be able to import food? Even they're not sure. Like so
Yeah.
so yeah, the supermarkets are all empty. There's no food on the shelves, and yeah, people have just stockpiled. So luckily he does have rice, but yeah, hopefully things settle down soon because he won't be able to get more.
Yeah, it's rough for
Yeah, yeah.
sure.
Anyway, that's not
Yeah.
an important issue, but it's not what we're here to talk about. So, so yeah, tell us a little bit more about your experience with health and the sort of the backstory that led you to SpudFit.
Sure. So, I about 3 years ago, I was having severe health issues. I weighed over 300 pounds. My knees were shot. I was in a lot of pain. I actually tore both shoulders as well. So I had to have surgery to repair both shoulders. I needed to have my knees replaced, but my doctor told me I had to lose a lot of weight first. So I ended up having gastric bypass surgery. And in that 2 year span, I ended up with 5 different surgeries. I had the gastric bypass surgery, lost 100 pounds, and then had the knees replaced and both shoulders done. So at that point, I was starting to feel a little better, but I still was eating the same foods because as soon as my stomach healed, I was going right back to my addictive nature of eating highly processed foods. It's what I'd eaten my whole life, and I've always been overweight and always had issues with obesity. So I started putting the pounds back on, and I got scared. I gained about a quarter of the weight back that I had lost, and I just started looking for answers. And I saw your interview. I'm not sure even how I came across it, but it resonated with me because you were talking about addiction and food, and that's really where I was coming from. I'm also an alcoholic, but I've been sober for 7 years, or almost 7 years. And so when I heard about addiction and how your testimony of that, I thought, oh, this makes a lot of sense for me. So I sought you out to see if I could get some coaching from you.
Yeah, well, that's great, and well done on not letting things spiral back out of control, as plenty of people have done before. Like, it's you. So you gained 25 pounds, which is obviously not ideal, um, but yeah, it would have been really easy for that to become 100 pounds without you doing anything about it. So I think that's a really big step to take there, and well done on that. And yeah, amazingly tough couple of years with those 5 surgeries. That would be very challenging, and to me it's easy to see why you started putting the weight back on, because obviously you mentioned that you're eating junk food still, but you're also just going through a really hard time, and maybe without healthy ways to deal with the tough emotions that you would have been through, then like most of us, probably turn to food a little bit to help you get through that. Would that be fair to say?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was having a lot of depression. I was feeling pretty trapped at home, and I was in a lot of pain after recovering from the surgeries. And I also had a lot of inflammation in my body, so I had a lot of arthritis, osteoarthritis. I was in pain all the time. I was taking pain medication. I was taking antidepressants. I was even taking anti-anxiety medication. I knew I had to do something drastic, and so that I wasn't like willing to do the full on Spud fit, as you know. I was probably one of the more difficult clients. I'm like, I don't want to do that whole thing. I just wanted to do like my own thing, and I've always kind of been that way, a little bit rogue, I guess. But I really appreciated your coaching style in that you just coached me to what would work for me. And you kept helping me raise the bar. So I kind of think of it like, when you're trying to get strong and you pump weights, and as you're pumping weights, you can add a few more weights on. And not everybody is, like one size fits all. And you were able to help coach me to, okay, now you've got this down. Now let's put this next weight on and lift it a little higher. And you just kept kind of baby stepping me along. I thought, oh, this must be so nice. He must get off the phone and just think, come on, lady. But we kept doing that, and it worked. And I started seeing the weight come off, and I lost that full 25 pounds and got back down to where I'd been, at after the original weight loss surgery. I have a picture here
Oh yeah.
of
Oh
my
wow.
before. Let's see. Yeah, so you can see
Amazing.
quite a difference of
Wow,
this
that's
was when I
so
first
cool.
started 3 years ago. So
Yeah.
you can see how far I've come.
Yeah.
It's been a process for sure, but yeah, so a little bit at a time
So
I've
amazing.
gotten closer, but I still have like probably 70, 60, 70 pounds to lose.
Yeah.
So I have to raise that bar again. And
Yeah,
I just made a commitment with some of the women in our Mega Foods group, your Mega
yeah,
Foods group, that I'm going to give up flour and nuts now. So it's like
yeah,
raise the
yeah,
bar a little higher.
yeah, great. So,
Yeah.
yeah, well, first of all, I just want to make it clear that people that I coach, not everyone does only potatoes. In fact, probably more people don't do only potatoes than do. So you're not an odd one out there. but but yeah, I love your analogy of the weights, like adding weights. So for me, when I made my change, I'm very much an all or nothing kind of guy, and it suited me to just go all in. Let's just do all potatoes from the beginning, and let's just attack it hard with everything I've got from the start. And that doesn't suit everyone. And I recognize that as a coach and as just as a human being, that, and as a teacher, I've been a teacher for a long time, that, when I'm dealing with a classroom full of 30 kids, I can't teach them all in exactly the same way. And it's got to be the same with health and lifestyle change as well. We can't just make everyone do everything exactly the same way. There's got to be different ways to do it. And yeah, I was really glad that I was able to help you gradually add weights to you and help you get stronger bit by bit. So
Yes.
yeah, that was
Add weights to lose weight.
yeah, no, that was a really good analogy. Thanks for that. Yeah, so what happened next then for you? You've mentioned that you've got to the point of where you've made a commitment to give up flour and nuts now. So I guess people have heard me talk about those things before. So what are your thoughts on those things? Why is that the next step for you?
Well, initially I did whole food plant-based. So I gave up oil. I quit using dairy because that was something I hadn't completely dropped. I gave up most processed foods, almost all, except for like maybe a few sauces. And even those we try to look to see like what the ingredients are and that kind of thing. So it's not that I think the flour and the nuts are horrible. They're still natural foods for the most part, whole grains, but they are high in calorie density, as we know. So I'm thinking that's why, just at my age, I'm 54 and I've been through menopause, and I'm sure with all the diets that I've done in my lifetime, I've completely destroyed my metabolism. So it just seems like I have to do those extra things to really get the weight to budge. So when I was coaching with you one-on-one, the thing that was really helpful to me too was I was taking pictures of everything I ate. You had suggested to me, well, why don't you just send me a picture? And you said, no matter what it is, you got to send it no matter what it is. It's like, oh man. But the accountability of that was awesome.
Yeah.
And that I think really helped me because I was steadily losing weight when I was doing that. So now I just started doing that with a couple of the girls in our your Mega Foods group, which I'm so glad you started Mega Foods. It's awesome. I just think that because of the type of coaching that you do, it's going to help a lot of people that are, looking for that other side of it. Cause what I wanted to do was start with the diet that I was going to end with.
Yeah.
I wanted to just not have to, like, do just potatoes and eventually I'm going to change it. I really wanted to just, do the same diet for the rest of my life, basically, so that I didn't have to switch it up. But
yeah, that's ideal. I think,
unfortunately,
yeah.
I got to bring the calorie density, down a little bit more, and then, and I might have to leave it there. I might not be able to handle hardly any flours or nuts just because my metabolism is what it is. We'll see. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to get to that next stage because we have a grandbaby coming in May.
Oh,
And
exciting. I didn't know that.
yes,
That's
yeah,
cool.
our daughter's gonna have a little boy, and I'm super excited about that. So I want to be able to chase that baby around and keep track of him. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no doubt. So
yeah.
yeah, I think you summed it up really well that if you're eating whole grain, very flours are processed. Obviously, to turn a grain into a flour is a processing step, but it's minimally processed, and that's a health food. There's nothing inherently wrong with eating flour, except that it's a higher calorie density food because it's ground and it has the water content removed. So that makes it higher calorie density, and that does two things: that you're able to, it means that you're having more calories per mouthful, and it also triggers you to then eat more as well. So it's two factors there. And the nuts, same with the nuts, they're a healthy natural food. There's nothing inherently wrong with them except that being a high fat food means that they're higher in calorie density. So again, it just makes you eat more per mouthful, more calories per mouthful, and then more volume overall. So yeah, I think this is a good move. And to be clear, we, to this point, you have lost weight with those foods included, but you're just at the point
Right.
now where, so those are good foods and they have helped you lose weight, but you're at a point now where you want to accelerate your weight loss, right?
Right, and it kind
Yeah.
of stalled at some point,
Yeah.
the past couple months, it's just kind of stalled out.
Yeah.
I didn't gain any weight back. That's the beautiful thing about eating this way. Like, I literally believe if I just ate right how I've been eating, that I wouldn't ever gain another pound.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lose it either because
Yeah.
my body's kind of found that set point. So I got to do something to, to
Yeah. Got to
turn up
shake things
the
up a little.
leaven a little bit. Yeah.
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 Yeah, cool. So, and how are you feeling about this process? Because I know from my own experience, it was until I found the Spud, my Spud Fit way, I was always full of self doubt, and I was always second guessing everything I ever did. And even when I was doing well on a diet and I was losing weight, I was always in the back of my mind going, "Oh, I don't know if this is the right thing," and all that. So how do you feel in that way at the moment?
I feel really positive about eating whole food plant-based. I feel very healthy. All of my pain is gone. Like, that's the thing that I'm the most
Mm,
really thrilled about. This time of year in the winter, last year I was just miserable, constantly aching and hurting, and I don't have any pain anymore. So eating this way has definitely improved my life in many ways. Oh, and my husband has lost weight because he's followed along, and he had been super supportive. My
yeah,
husband Larry, I have his picture here too. He's lost about 35 pounds
nice one.
since we've
Go
been
Larry.
doing this. Yeah. And he's actually out jogging now. He
Ah,
started jogging, and he was a track, kind of a track star in high school. He like won the records and all that stuff. So,
oh wow.
so he decided to start trying jogging a little bit, and he's been having a lot of fun with that. So,
Yeah, awesome.
really
Yeah.
proud of him.
So Larry wasn't doing coaching with me. It was just sort of happened by osmosis with you.
Yeah, I would just share with him what you suggested, and
Yeah.
and he's always been so supportive because, like, he can keep losing weight without dropping the nuts, and he likes the nut sauces that we make and things. But when we went out for Valentine's Day, I said, you know what, I really want to give up flour and nuts because I want to go to this next step, and he was like, okay, I can do that. It's
Yeah,
like,
cool.
thank you. Of course he'll drop weight like crazy, but because he could just be like, oh, well, you go ahead, I'm going to keep doing this, but he always just jumps on board with me, so I'm pretty fortunate.
Oh, it's awesome to have a supportive partner like that. And I have heard from a few different people that have had similar experiences where they just did their own thing, and they were in it for themselves, and the partners ended up coming along for the ride without really any prompting, and they had amazing improvements too. It happens all the time, and I call it health by stealth. It's it's just do your thing, and it rubs off without meaning to. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
really cool.
and our family members too, like my brother and my sister, they've started eating more this way, and they've been coming aboard. So, yeah, it's really exciting to see how, just as you kind of let people know what you're doing, it helps
Yeah,
others too.
yeah, for sure, for
Um,
sure. And I'm sure you're a very inspirational kind of person, and I'm no doubt that you're going to be your healthy ways are going to be rubbing off on all those people around you. People are going to be gravitating to what you're doing, so that's cool. Um,
Fun.
do you have any advice for anyone else who's thinking about making this change or making a healthy change in their lifestyle?
I think one of the biggest things we did early on is make sure I didn't have things in the house that would tempt me. I know some people can handle that, but I really struggle with it. So, like, we have a 17-year-old daughter at home, and at first I would let her have snacks in the cupboard that she liked, but then I'd find myself kind of dipping into them, and I was having a real struggle with that. So now if she does have something, she'll keep them in her room. So I don't have anything in the house that isn't something that I can have. And when I say can, I mean that I choose to, because I've made decisions. I heard you talking about decisions and decision fatigue in the
Yeah,
video that you posted the other day with Dr. McDougall's thing. And so I made decisions that these are the lines that I'm not going to cross, and then I don't have those foods in my house anymore. Got rid of the oil, we got rid of the dairy, we got rid of refined foods, and we just eat really simple now: potatoes, beans, and rice, and produce. So it makes it a lot easier when you don't have stuff in the house. So get the stuff out of your house. Go get a bag, guys, and throw everything in there. Get rid of it. I heard some, it just, get it out of there. It's just not worth it. It's not worth it. So even if you have to throw it away,
that's great advice. And I like you talk about decisions and choices, because when, a lot of people, and it's natural, people talk about what I can eat and what I can't eat. And it's a small but important distinction, I think, to say that, well, actually I can eat whatever I want. Like, I can go and get chocolate right now if I want. I'm not doing it because I'm choosing not to. It's a decision that I'm making, and I'm making it because I believe it's the right thing to do, not because I can't, or I shouldn't, or whatever. It's just, I'm deciding not to. I don't want to do that. And when you can get yourself in that frame of mind where you can, it's basically, it's easy to say no to things that you don't want. So if you can look at things rationally and logically, and really understand the full consequences of the decisions that you make, then you get to that point where you're making decisions, and you're making proactive choices, rather than just rigidly following a set of guidelines that have been laid down. So I like that language. Good on you.
And your taste changed too. When you're eating all those highly processed foods, that's what you want. But after a while, now I just love the taste of fresh berries and fresh fruit, and my oatmeal in the morning. Things that are really healthy. I actually crave them now.
Oh, that's great.
And even beans and rice.
And it's only been a few days now, really, hasn't it, since you've stopped eating the nuts? You were making a cheesy nut-based kind of sauce.
No, it's today is my first day.
Okay. Well,
I said as of Monday. It was like, boom.
Okay, well, that makes my question obsolete. I was going to ask how your tastes are adjusting to not having that, but I'll have to ask you in a few days.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure it'll be fine though. It's like once you make the decision, it makes it easier because of what you were talking about with decision fatigue. You don't have to make a choice. It's just, I don't do this anymore. And that actually makes it easier.
Yeah. And it's easier, I think, to, just to go all in and just say, this is the way I do it now. And rather than, a lot of people would say, well, why don't you just have like less nut sauce instead of getting rid of it altogether? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that just does not work well. I mean, I've tried doing that all my whole life, and it's too hard. And I'll always go for more of it. If I can have it, it's going to be every day. And, if you make a big batch of it, for me, that just doesn't work. I know some people can handle that, but I don't have that kind of willpower. I just have to say, no, I don't do this. And then I'm fine. And it's actually much easier to do it all the way.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've had the same issues. I'm not, like, people think, wow, Andrew must have amazing willpower because he did this potato only thing for the whole year. And I'm like, it's exactly the opposite.
Yeah. The other thing is when you do make a decision that's a little off of what is normal. Like, I went to an event one time where they had some vegan cupcakes, and normally sweets aren't even on. I don't even think about it because I don't eat eggs. So if I'm not eating eggs, I'm not going to eat the baked goods, right? But they had vegan ones there. So I ate a little cupcake, and actually I ate two. I ate two little cupcakes at this vegan event. And then, but I didn't beat myself up either afterwards. I was just like, okay, that's it. And you're just right back on track. Because normally I don't eat refined flours or refined sugars either. So, so that was still like crossing the line for me. But if something like that does come up where I make a mistake, so to speak, I get right back on track.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And that's sort of, I don't really do that myself. I don't really go and, like, I've had one mouthful of cake in the last 4 years. And that was my second son's first birthday cake. I actually decided to have a whole slice of cake just for that one, like, first birthday cake. I thought, I want to have a whole I just want to have a slice of cake for my son's birthday. And I had like 1 teaspoon, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want the rest. That'll
Yeah.
do me." So,
Yeah, it's easy when you're not when you're been away from it, and then you feel icky afterwards. And
yeah,
yeah,
I've
when
just
we go
been,
out to eat too, sometimes there's too much oil in the food, and it'll make
yeah.
us feel kind of gross
Oh, it was
because
just
it's
too
so hard to
strong
get.
for me. Yeah, it was just
Yeah,
too much. It was just like sensory
yeah,
overload. I couldn't handle it.
mhm,
Yeah. All right.
exactly.
Well, yeah, I think yeah, that's it's time probably to end this. But thank you very much for sharing your story, and you've done an amazing job. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Yeah, I just want to thank you because I've never been able to get to this place before where, I mean, I've had almost a year now of really clean eating. That's never happened in my life. So, and I really owe that to the coaching, the individual coaching that I did with you, because I don't know what exactly the difference was, but just the way that you brought me along slowly, like we were talking about slowly adding the weights, that worked for me. So thank you.
Oh,
So much. I
that makes
really
me feel
appreciate it.
all.
It's
No,
changing my life.
no, thank you. That makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, and yeah, there'll be a spring in my step for the rest of the day now. So thank you. All right.
Yes.
Well, have a great
Awesome.
day.
All
Thank
right.
you
High
again,
five.
and
Yay.
yeah, high five and spud up, everyone. So there you have it. I love MJ's attitude. I love how far she's come and the progress that she's made. I love her willingness to adapt and evolve as we go along, and constantly reflect and reevaluate what she's doing. So yeah, well done to MJ. And if anyone else out there is interested, then click the link below. Get in contact with me if you've got any questions, or if you might be interested in doing some personal coaching of your own. Or if just this video has been helpful to you, that's great as well. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that stuff. And Spud